MDOT presents the Extra Mile Podcast, Legislative Session.
Welcome in to another edition of the Extra Mile Podcast Legislative Session. I'm your host, Paul Catul. I'm here with my co-host, Will Kraft, and today we have the chairman of the Transportation Committee in the Mississippi House of Representatives, Charles Busby. And we're so happy to have you here today. Chairman Busby assumed office in 2012 and represents District 111 in Jackson County. And we're so happy to have you here today.
Well, thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me. Will, I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Well, Mr. Chairman, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you kind of got involved in politics and what drove you to run.
Well, I had the good fortune of having now Secretary of State Michael Watson working with me back in 2008, 2009, and he was pretty adamant that he thought that I would make a reasonable legislator. So he talked about the need for business-minded people in the legislature, and I looked into it and decided that I thought that was something that maybe I could help with, and decided to make that run. I've really enjoyed it. It's such an honor to represent the people of Jackson County, and I hope I'm doing them a halfway decent job. I try. It's a real honor to represent them.
Absolutely. As far as we're concerned, you are. Very much so. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right, an engineering background?
Yes, sir. I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and about 20 years ago, as a matter of fact, this in 2021, we celebrated 20 years in business. Nice. I have an engineering firm known as Orion Engineering. We work almost exclusively in the private sector. Work in oil refineries and chemical plants and petrochem facilities and specialty chem facilities and things like that across the southeast, from Georgia to Texas and as far north as West Virginia.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that big. Okay. Well, and as Paul mentioned, we're in the thick of the legislative session here, about 2.5 weeks in. Obviously, there's a laundry list of measures that have already been dropped and are going through. Any major important transportation things that are jumping out at you right now? Well,
I think as we look at federal monies that has come in, we've got to take care of those responsibly. ARPA money plus the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that came through, as you guys know, not telling you anything, but perhaps telling our audience a little bit. It's just simply a reauthorization of existing federal programs for the next 5 years with an extra $1 billion in there. So I think it's on me and my counterpart in the Senate, Senator Branning, to see how we can creatively find the 20% match that's required for this additional $1 billion of federal money. So all those projects are 80-20 match. So we need to be able to find an additional $200 million to capture that $1 billion in federal money over the next 5 years. And then working with the executive director here at MDOT and the commission on establishing what the priorities ought to be for those dollars over the next 3 to 5 years, looking at those areas that are really in need of capacity increases, which is something that we somewhat had a moratorium on over the past several years because of the lack of funding.
Chairman Busby, you touched on a little bit, but can you talk about any kind of hurdles that we have right now that we need to jump through to kind of advance transportation infrastructure in the state of Mississippi?
Well, Paul, it's kind of tough. I don't think I'd like to be a commissioner right now because of how things are changing. As we move towards autonomous vehicles, what do those roadways need to look like? How to limited access roadways that are needed across the state in order to support autonomous vehicles. Now, most people don't have an autonomous vehicle, but in the groups that I run in and the people that are looking forward into the future of what the infrastructure looks like, we know they're coming. They're right on our doorstep. And if we don't have limited access roadways to support those, then we're not going to be able to attract those people that are driving those vehicles. Little things like the unmanned delivery systems of Amazon and UPS and FedEx, those things that we need to be looking at. And then as car manufacturers start to move away from internal combustion engines and the utilization of fossil fuels goes down. While, I'm not telling you guys anything, MDOT is a special fund agency. When you guys come over and get your appropriations bill every year, it's not that we're taking money out of the general fund. We're simply giving you permission to spend the dollars that come in through those specific revenue streams. And so those revenue streams, I think, are going to begin, well, they've already started, as a matter of fact. They've already started to go down. So we have to look at a different taxing mechanism in order to fund our roads and bridges. I think Ford has said that they're not going to build an internal combustion engine after 2030. GM's right behind them. We already are seeing an uptick in electric vehicles. I think we'll probably see another uptick in fuel cell vehicles. So we're going to have to change where we get our money from. And now, fortunately, with some forward-thinking folks in the legislature about 4 years ago, in 2018, we put a tax on electric vehicles, electric and hybrids. Thank goodness that we did that, because that's going to fill in the blank a little bit, I hope.
It's crazy to think about. I mean, it really doesn't seem that long ago in my head that folks were talking about EVs coming, and we're seeing more and more and more. And you've got the Rivian coming out, and Ford and their Lightning, and it's becoming much more mainstream. I think you're right on point that not far behind it is going to be the autonomous wave.
Well, I think autonomous might actually be ahead of it.
Could be.
Yeah, I think it could actually be ahead of it. The folks that I talk with in my transportation circles, we've been talking about autonomous vehicles for about 6 years now. Since I've been chairman of this committee this is my 7th year, and since I've been in it, we've been talking about autonomous vehicles. And it would still be, I think it would be very beneficial to us to have that another, or I say another as if we currently have one, a good limited access roadway from the coast all the way to the Tennessee line, and we need it for hurricane evacuation from the coast as well. And we got a number of companies, especially in the north part of the state, who need it. And like Highway 15 going through Ripley, Tippah County, that certainly needs to be 4-lane, could be a limited access roadway, and we could take 15 from the coast all the way to the Tennessee line, I believe, and make that a good limited access route from one end of the state to the other.
That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be very nice. Well, and again, you talked about, thankfully, having the foresight to plan ahead and think about some needs moving forward. Much in that same line of thought, in 2018, the special session, legislature crafted the Emergency Road and Bridge Program. We got sports betting in Mississippi, we got the lottery, and then we also got the use tax. We, not MDOT, with the use tax, but that going to locals. But I think just exactly what you're saying right there is trying to address these issues on the roadway right now as much as possible. And I know you can speak to the success of the Emergency Road and Bridge projects.
Yes, I can. I'm so proud of that program, and I'm so thankful of Speaker Gunn supporting me on this, Representative Lamar supporting me on this, Representative White supporting me on this, because in 2018 I refused to sign the appropriations bill for MDOT in the regular session. I didn't feel like that we had done anything to address our roads and bridges, so we had the 2018 special session where we found some things to do. Now, when Speaker Gunn appointed me to this position, I went around the state and I looked at road and bridge conditions across the state. I came back and reported that we have a lot of issues on the state system, and we do, and we did. They're being addressed. However, I said our state system, the issues on our state system pale in comparison to that I see on the county systems. And it wasn't 6 months later that we got the call from Washington about shutting our bridges down.
That's right.
So it was imperative. It was absolutely imperative that we do something. And it was a good idea to take the gaming sinking fund, what was left of that annual revenue stream that had not been committed, and do a $250 million bond and create the Emergency Road and Bridge Program. It's been very successful. We found another way to put another round through there, another $100 million through there last year. And I'm looking for an additional $350 this year to
All
do
right.
it again. And I think the harvest permit bill that we passed last year that increased the weight of the harvest permit, I think everyone knew that there was going to be a cost associated
Sure.
with that change in legislation. And sure enough, that turned out to be the case. I think the number I get from MDOT from the state system shows me 56 bridges that are impacted by that at a cost of $231 million that we got to find. And then I don't remember the number from state aid, but it's a significant number too. And then you still got the county systems that you got to deal with on those bridges. I have to question whether or not we are really helping our farmers and our loggers out if we allow the extra weight, but we don't repair the bridges so that the bridges get posted and we cause them to have to go 20 or 30 miles out of their
Right.
way to avoid those bridges. I don't know that we've done them a lot of good.
Understand. It's a good thought, yeah.
All right, Chairman Busby, we want to give you an opportunity to take things back home to Jackson County. Are there any projects down south that you would want to shout out and talk about?
Sure, yeah. One of the most important ones I think we have is the replacement of the Roy Cumbus Bridge across the Pascagoula River on Wade Van Cleve Road. It's going to create a tremendous detour while it's down, but we need to get that done. It is the only passage across the Pascagoula River from I-10 to Highway 98, or Highway 26, I should say. 26 does it too. So it's a significant detour for our citizens there, but the bridge has got to be replaced, and there's no other way to do it. But I'm happy. That was part of the ERBR program to get that funded, so proud to do that. And then I'm hoping that as we look into capacity projects going forward, that we'll take a good look at that section of Highway 90 from Highway 57 west into Ocean Springs. It is a tremendous log jam right there, and really tough on businesses in that area and tough on the residents. And I'm hoping we can take a look at that. And then we've had some refurbishing of Highway 90 along Pascagoula there to meet federal highway safety recommendations, and that's coming along well.
Lots of cars on the road down there in Jackson County and the coast.
Absolutely.
Do you want to go through any bills, highlight any bills while we have you?
I do. I think it would be interesting for our audience to hear the kinds of things that come into the Transportation Committee. It's kind of weird. It's not all just highways. So if we could talk about a few of those, right off the bat, we got one from Representative Randy Rushing from Newton County to increase the state aid system, to increase the mileage on state aid. Got several here to require that headlights be on whenever windshield wipers are on. Now, for the most part, cars these days have headlights that are automatic, but there are some, and a couple of our members have had some close encounters because headlights weren't on during rain events. So, you know, and another one here that that always comes up. It's perennial. It comes every year, and many of our citizens may not even know this, but our sheriffs are not allowed to have radar. So, without doubt, every year I'm going to get a bill that says allow our sheriffs to have radar. And every year it's probably going to get voted down. And I was ignorant of this issue when I first became chairman, and kind of waded off into the water a little deeper than I should have and almost drowned in it. But I didn't even really recognize that our sheriffs didn't have radar.
We didn't, neither.
And then people point out to me, well, our sheriffs are elected officials, and we don't want radar to be used as a political tool. And I went, okay, all right, well, that makes a little bit of sense to me. And then off-road vehicles. We had a bill last year that drew a line between motorcycles and electric bicycles to make sure that electric bicycles were considered bicycles and not motorcycles. We have bills for autonomous vehicles on trucks to allow trucks to follow at a distance where the truck behind the lead truck is taking electronic signals from the lead truck for braking and acceleration. Railroad crossings, anything to do with licenses comes to us. And then all of the memorial highways. If someone that has had a significant impact on the state has passed away and to name a portion of a highway after them, that always comes to transportation as well as funding for those things as well. So that's just a taste of some of the things that we get in the committee.
Kind of across the board of different topics and for every situation.
And another one that surprises me all the time, and I've gotten it for the past few years, is outdoor advertising. Billboards. So billboards also fall under our purview in that committee, and I know absolutely nothing about them. So
I think
I'm learning, though.
I've spent a considerable amount of time reading those regulations, and I don't think I could regurgitate a single one right now. It's I think it's about 48 pages of combing through there. Mm-hmm. And that outdoor ads gets a little bit contentious as well, as you mentioned.
But as we go back to what we'll be chasing this year, again, one of the things that we have not touched on in this interview is ARPA. So we'll be working on that as well. Certain $1.8 billion coming to the state that I'm hoping we can use a lot of that for roads and bridges. And we're going to have to address pay for our MDOT employees. I think, Chairman Bennett, who chairs the House Education Committee, and his team did an excellent job of putting together a teacher pay raise package. Proud to see that. I think it's a long-term solution to a problem, whether to keep us from having to revisit that every year. I think they did a great job, and I think we need something similar for our MDOT employees.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. We're losing a lot of our engineers, but at the same time, we're losing maintenance guys. We're losing everybody from district engineers to the people that cut the grass. And I think it's important, and we need to address that.
I think we very much so appreciate that.
Certainly.
Kind of the last two thoughts here. One, a little bit out of the box, but we spend a lot of time talking about transportation. You obviously spend a lot of time traveling the state, seeing different things, stopping in. Is there any local watering hole, stop in, every time you're passing through there, I've got to stop in here and get a bite to eat? Just some place that's special maybe to you, or for whatever reason that you want to give a shout out?
Right as you finish the construction on 49, as soon as you clear the construction south on 49, there's Country Meats over there on the left-hand side. I love those guys. And they got some great stuff in there. I love to drop in there and then pick up a little something on the way home to throw on the grill as I'm going home on the weekend. That's a pretty cool place. And then, I got to give a shout out to the folks down home.
Absolutely.
Bozo's Seafood in Pascagoula is just the best po' boy on the face of the planet. They just don't get any better. My friends at Paradise Grill, I think, got the best muffalata. They beat the muffalatas even in New Orleans to me.
Wow.
And my friends at Brady's, great place down in Pascagoula. Yeah, it's a pretty cool place. Happy to see all the things that are happening in downtown Pascagoula. We've got a lot of movement down there, and all my colleagues in the House have been very helpful with that, and we really appreciate all their support and help.
Well, just to wrap things up here, Mr. Chairman, sir, and thank you. But if folks out there listening would like to get in touch with you or kind of learn more about your office and day-to-day activities or what you got going on, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, they can call the Capitol. They can look at the roster. If they'll go to the Mississippi Legislature website, you can look at the roster there, and you can get the address and phone number at the Capitol. And a lot of times, personal phone numbers. My personal phone number is listed right there. I'm not trying to hide from anybody. So my office number at the Capitol is there, and my personal phone number is there. If anyone would like to call me, obviously my email is there as well. We all have the same structure email, cbusby@house.ms.gov. And I welcome hearing from any and all constituents across the state.
And I imagine that phone line stays pretty busy, and those emails are continuously coming in, so bear with them, guys, if you're trying to get in touch with the chairman here.
Yeah, thanks for that, Will.
Absolutely. And Chairman Busby, we want to thank you so much. Very insightful conversation today. I know you're a busy guy. To our listeners out there, thank you so much for listening. If you want to hear more episodes of the Extra Mile Podcast Legislative Session, be sure to subscribe or download wherever podcasts can be found. And actually, you can now watch each episode of the Extra Mile just search Mississippi Department of Transportation on YouTube. And remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. That handle is @MississippiDOT. And as always, remember to drive smart out there on Mississippi highways.